I want to take this opportunity to introduce our chapter president, Madam President, Miss Sharon Owens.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight as we plan to share, discuss, and learn more about this very important topic. I am Sharon Owens, the president of the Douglas-Carroll-Paulding County's Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. One of many chapters in this awesome organization under the leadership of our national president, Beverly Evans Smith. I want to acknowledge our chapter leaders in the DCP chapter, our first vice president, Elaine Thurman, our second vice president, who's on this meeting and over our programs, specifically these that we are having tonight, Patrice Hickman, and our third vice president, Natalie Veal. DCP, as we are affectionately known, is a chapter of over 360 women. We were chartered in Douglasville in April of 2007. So we are 13 years in this community where we've been serving and giving back to those in the community. So get ready to hear very pertinent information as we share and honor those impacted by HIV/AIDS directly or indirectly. Again, thanks for joining. We will now continue with the program.
Hello, good evening. I am Pia Scott, the co-chair for International Awareness and Involvement. On December 1st of each year, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated commemorates World AIDS Day to spread awareness of HIV and AIDS epidemic. Today, we unite with millions globally to show support for individuals living with and affected by HIV and remembering those who have died from AIDS-related illnesses. I am now going to introduce our speaker, Kim Moon. After being diagnosed with HIV in 2001, Kim simply went through the motions of just living to die. Despite being in care every day for 10 years, she woke up wondering if today was going to be the day that HIV would kill her. After getting educated and coming out of her real, very depressed state, she began looking at HIV in a different way. She now encourages others to go after their dreams despite the cards that they have been dealt. And she knows that life has a lot of beauty to offer, even after an HIV diagnosis. Kim, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pia, for inviting me to be here to share with you all. And thank you to the Delta community for always being there. I can at least say for the last 5 years, some chapter of Delta has done a lot of work with me and for me. I chair a 400-person conference in February every year for Women and Girls HIV Awareness Day, and they're always there. So, I mean, whatever chapter, I never know what chapter, I just call somebody and like, will you come? And they always do it. So I thank you all for doing that. I just have a few minutes, so I want to share with you all, you know, most of you, well, you know my status because Dr. Scott just told you, but you don't know my story. So in May of 2001, I was raped. So I was depressed and I thought, okay, I got to deal with this because I have 3 kids. And then I thought, how will I get through this? I went to the hospital, my test came back negative. And so I didn't think anything else about it. I thought, I'm good. You know, I wasn't educated about HIV. I wasn't educated. I didn't think it was happened to me because, you know, years ago, it was a gay white man's disease. Then it became a gay man's disease. Then it became a down low brother's disease. So I just figured I'm not in that category. It's not me. So I didn't get educated. So I commend all of you for doing this because a lot of people are not. But anyway, my doctor called and she said, hey, you need to get tested every 6 months for 3 years. Didn't know what that meant, just said, okay, but knew I wasn't going to do it. And then she was leaving, going out of the country because her husband was a pastor. And she said, I need you to come back. You didn't come back like you said you would. So when I went back, she told me, she said, you're HIV positive. She, you know, that she redid the test and she told me I was HIV positive. And literally my first thought was, I'm going to die, you know, because again, I told you I wasn't educated and I had no idea that it was going to be as hard as it was. And I was depressed for 10 years because I chose at that time to look at the glass as half empty. I have on a shirt right now that says one reason. And I wear this shirt a lot, and I wear it because I believe that that's what I had to have to make it my one reason. I mean, think about it. We all go to work, right? We go to work for one reason, get a paycheck. Everything we do, we get in a relationship with a man or a woman because we assume we're going to get married. So I had to find my one reason. And that one reason to me was my children at the time. And so I took my medicine and I tried to look at the glasses half full. And the reason why I say I play the cards that have been dealt is because my mom, she's a very positive person. And she always told me, she said, you know, baby, sometimes you have to play the hand, you know, the cards you've been dealt. And I felt like I had been dealt some really bad cards. What could I have possibly done in my life that would require me to be raped by a man with AIDS? I done gave him AIDS because I didn't know that there was a difference between HIV and AIDS, not at the time. And so I thought, what could I have possibly done in my world, so in my life that warrant me being raped this way? So I really did assume that I had did something wrong. I was horrified. But then one day, you know, I had a friend, a pastor, actually, he told me, he said, God gave you this life because he knew you were strong enough to live it. You know, and then I used to read quotes all the time. And I used to say morning affirmations. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm humble, I'm wealthy, I'm strong. I am a champion. I am victorious. And even though I did that, I didn't believe it. And then literally one day I read a quote that says, scars only show us where we've been. They can't dictate to us where we're going. However, you can use them to motivate you to get to where you want to be. And so that's what I had to do. See, HIV was supposed to be my stumbling block, but me and God, we made it our stepping stone, my stepping stone. And it has allowed me to travel the world, to share my story, to do a lot of campaigns, to do a lot of things and help a lot of people. And that's my one reason now. You know, I have an alarm on my phone and it goes off every night at 10 o'clock. That's the alarm that I take my medicine. And with that alarm, it says, live life. That's what I said it is, live life, because that's what I do every day when I take that pill. I don't know if y'all remember the Pac-Man arcade game. You remember that? Okay, so that's the way I look at HIV. So Pac-Man, the little thing was eating up the little dots, right? And then it'll get to the monster was coming at it and it get to the big one and then it's able to eat the monster, right? So in my mind, that's the way it is for me with my medicine. So my alarm every night when it goes off and says live life, I'm taking that pill because me and Pac-Man, we eating it up. We gonna live life. And so that's what I do. I do that because I want to make a difference. What I realize is that half the battle of being diagnosed with any life-threatening disease is right here. You ever heard about people that get cancer? They get diagnosed with cancer and 2 months later they're dead. But then somebody else can get the same cancer, be at the same stage, and they live a very long time because it starts here. It starts here. And education is key. So I would like to say that HIV has been a bad thing for me, but it's not. I make better decisions. I have conversations that I ain't no problem. I got 3 kids. So guess what that meant? I haven't had sex at least 4 times in my life, right? The 3 kids and the rape. Now we know the difference, but y'all got proof that I've had sex at least 4 times in my life. And so what I do is I do this because I want to make a difference. I started a foundation called Positively Beautiful. It's not about being positive. It's not about being beautiful. It's about being whole. And that's the one thing that I know women, a lot of women don't have. So they don't do the condom negotiations. Believe me, before being HIV positive, I didn't either. If he said he loved me and I said I loved him, we had sex. I ain't saying it's right. I ain't telling nobody to go have sex. I'm saying this is the reality of what we do. We do it. But, you know, nobody wants to go and say, hey, have you been tested? Hey, have you ever had any other disease? I have this little thing I do called the Eyes Have It. And in the Eyes Have It, I'm asking all of these questions with eyes. And most of the time, by the time I finish, the whole room is sitting down because I ask everybody that's standing as I call out the different eyes. If you know someone that's incarcerated, if you know someone that's involved with somebody else that's HIV, if you know someone that lives in a high incident area, if you know someone that has told you, I don't know what happened last night. Because we had them too. We had them friends that do a whole lot of stuff and they don't know what happened. So in that situation, most of the time, everybody in the room is sitting before I could get halfway through, which says that nobody is excluded. The one thing HIV and COVID has alike, there is no respect of person. Initially, when COVID first started, it said, oh, the elderly and the pre-existing condition people, right? Not true. Because then you start hearing about babies and teenagers and young people getting COVID. Well, that's the way it is with HIV. If you have unprotected sex, you're at risk. And that's just the bottom line. And I tell people all the time, like one girl, like, how do you go home and tell your boyfriend or your husband who you've been in a relationship with for, I don't know, 10 years that we need to get tested or we need to use condoms? And I always tell them this, I don't really like being used by nobody but God, but use me. Get that camera out, take that picture. And then when you take that picture, you go home and you show this man this picture and be like, hey, we need to go get tested. This girl don't look like it. She is HIV positive. And when you think about it, y'all, I was raped May 8th, 2001. Sad that I remember that, but I do. But if you can be raped, and I have lived, think about it. It's about to be 20 years. A lot of people say Magic Johnson is alive because of his money. That's a lie. Magic Johnson is alive because of that pill we take. We take the pills. That alarm keep me there. I don't care where I go. I can be out on a date. If my alarm go off, I'm taking my pill and I don't care because as Dr. Pia said, I live in shame. I lived in shame for a very long time because I wasn't educated. I think education is key. And I think what you all are doing is absolutely amazing because that's what makes the difference. You have to educate people. You have to ask questions with your spouse, with your mate. You have to make decisions together, like getting tested, like having condom negotiation conversations, like, everything, because I can tell you some stories from a 14-year-old being infected by a guy in high school because she thought he was the football jock and he liked her. He told her she was pretty. But I can also tell you a story about a 74-year-old that dated her. That ran across her high school sweetheart and she ended up dating him and then he disappeared. Y'all, who doing drive-bys at 74? Nobody. He disappeared, you don't care. Not at 74. I don't at 54, but I know I don't at 74. I ain't chasing him. So 2 months later, she go in a store and she see his cousin and she just asks where he is. And he's like, you don't know. She said, well, he died of AIDS. She had no idea. Now, me and you both know you don't die from AIDS. You die from AIDS-related illness, but he told her he died from AIDS. She had no idea. 74, diagnosed with HIV. She was diagnosed with HIV at 74. So there's no respect of person. I can tell you stories from girls living from a married lady. She was married and pregnant at home, at her mom's home, celebrating her birthday and got the phone call that her test came back positive. And then she go home and talk to her husband. He was like, yeah, I've been sleeping with men. I have those desires. So of that, how can you exclude yourself? How can you not have those conversations with your significant other, with your children, with your daughters, with your sons, because nobody is excluded. The highest rate right now, not MSM, it is MSM, but I'm saying excluding them is 13 to 24-year-olds. They having sex and they being infected with HIV. And COVID ain't helping none because we in the house and we having sex. I want to say we doing it, okay, but we having sex. So we gotta do something, and we gotta do something quickly. And what you're doing is amazing to me. And I know I'm probably out of my time. Am I over time? Okay, because I'm just talking and I don't know, but can I do this? I got to and I want to because I feel like if I don't do this, then I've just given you juicy gossip and I didn't answer anybody's. Is it anybody that got a question for me? Because I just can't walk. If I walk away and don't answer somebody's question, then all I did was gave you juicy gossip. So I just want to know, what is it, anything that anybody wants to ask me or want me to say? Because I believe this. I've never spoke. I've done 4 of these today. And every call, there was always somebody that sent me a personal message and said to me, my sister died from AIDS-related illnesses, or my boyfriend just told me he was HIV positive. So I try to do that because I want you to know. So y'all ain't gonna tell me?
There is a question in the chat, and the question says, can you still have sex? Can you still have a sex life after being infected?
Girl, what you talking about? Yes. Yes. Let me stop joking. Okay, I'm not gonna clown. So here's the deal. There is a thing called U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable. And that means that I take my medicine, and remember that Pac-Man I told y'all about? And Pac-Man is keeping my immune system healthy. So right now I am what is considered to be undetectable. And I can't give, if I sleep with a man tonight, my boyfriend tonight, I can't give him HIV because I am undetectable. That means that small amount of viral load is in my body, which is less than 25%. Now, well, less than 0.25, I'm sorry. For the, some people, CDC, some people go with 0.5, but some go with 0.25. My doctor's office go with 0.25. So I'm not contagious, if you want to use that word. Yeah, because so yeah, you can have a sex life, you can have a relationship, people get married. That's why Magic Johnson's still married. And what's her name, Cookie? That's why she had a baby and she ain't got HIV, because Magic Johnson take his medicine. It ain't got nothing to do with money. It got something to do with that pill. Now maybe the pill is expensive, because my medication is like $3,800 a month without insurance. So it's expensive. But there's also, to whoever asked that question, there's a pill that you can take for PrEP. And the medication PrEP is really a HIV pill, but it's pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it's 2, Truvada and Descovy. A HIV negative person can choose to take that to not get HIV. Somebody else had a question.
There's a few more in there.
Hey, I got a question.
Okay.
How do people that get HIV, how do they afford the medicine? The way you said that it's $3,800 a month.
So yeah, well, one, I have insurance, but that's what it would be if I didn't have insurance. Now I, as she said, well, I don't know if it was in that bio or not. So we have a program called the Ryan White Program, Metropolitan Atlanta HIV Health Services Planning Council. And I actually resigned because I do too much. But anyway, so the federal government gives Georgia, at that time, I just resigned, it was $26 million. And with that money, there's programs that allow a HIV positive person to go to the doctor to get medication. It pays for their doctor's visit, their medicines, and different things like that. So that's for the person who don't have insurance. But then of course you always got Medicaid, and if you're over whatever the age is, you got Medicare. So it's always that. And then pharmaceutical companies, they have programs. Like if you wanted PrEP, they have programs. They have co-pay cards where you'll pay a small amount and they actually are giving you the medicine. That's how dedicated they are. I actually sit on a committee with Gilead, the pharmaceutical company who makes one of the medications, and that's what they do. They try to come up with ways that they can help get it out to people. And that was one of the ways.
There's a few more questions. How often should you get tested?
So how often are you having unprotected sex? Is probably the real question, because like I was raped and they told me to get tested every 6 months for 3 years. That was because my initial test was negative. If you're having If you have a lot of different partners, I'm sorry to say that, but if you have a lot of different partners, let's just be real, then you probably should go a little bit more regular, you know, than maybe every 3 or 4 months. It's not hard. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna hurt to get tested. It don't hurt like COVID test. So getting the HIV test, I would say regularly, if not at least, if you don't live that type of lifestyle, then at least once a year get tested.
There is a COVID related question. Are the numbers going up with COVID?
Yes. Yes, people are still being diagnosed with HIV because we at home. Can I be real? Can I just be for real, for real? We at home, we screwing, and yeah, and we ain't using protection, and that's what's happening. Anything
All
else?
right. We have a few more.
I'm sorry.
How were you able to work through the mental impacts of not only the rape, but the diagnosis?
So, as I said before, my mom was a very spiritual lady and she was a very positive lady. And I think, I don't know that I worked through it for the first 10 years. I was depressed. I went to work, I went home. What I didn't tell you, my mom died 1 year after I was raped. So they just kept coming. The things kept coming. Then my grandson, probably 3 years after that, he was 3 years old. He was molested he lived in Alabama. He was molested at his kindergarten by the janitor. So they just kept coming. And I had to sit down one day and say, okay, Lord, what is this? What is it? We got to stop this curse. Now, I didn't press charges because I didn't want my daughter to feel like it was her fault. Mind you, I didn't go into all of that too because of time purposes. I was raped. My daughter babysitted for the guy that raped me. She had to go. She was also babysitting for the neighbor. She went to the neighbor's house she said, well, he's not here. What do? I said, you go, I'll stay. When he came like 2 or 3 in the morning, he sloppy drunk. He said, where your daughter? I said, she gone next door. And then I said, he said, where your son? I said, he gone with her. And I said, you can come back here and get your son. The next thing I know, I'm slung into the wall and being raped. And so I thought my daughter could handle it. For a long time, she was the only person I told. And she went to University of Virginia. And it was hard for her because I didn't know it till later on. She spent 2 weeks in a mental institution at University of Virginia because she thought it was her fault. So I can't say that it was not hard. It was, but I think my morning affirmations, remembering my mom, trying to look at the glass as half full instead of half empty, made all the difference in the world for me. It takes a strong mind. I can say that. It don't just happen overnight. You cannot do it just overnight. It doesn't work that way. You have to be mentally stable. More than anything, being HIV positive, the mental piece is far worse. It's far greater. Anything else?
So we have 2 more questions.
Okay.
How do you recommend talking to fearless young people about HIV/AIDS when society seems to promote a promiscuous lifestyle?
So I think you have to meet anybody, regardless of the age, where they are. And so while I don't really listen to rap, if I had to reach out to some young people, I'm going to meet them where they are. If it means I got to go listen to their music so I can relate, whatever you got to do it to relate to them, because otherwise they're not hearing you. They could care less what you're talking about if you're not on their level. That's like a homeless person. I can't go to a homeless person that I know is HIV positive and talk to them about sex or anything else for that matter. I have to meet them at their level. First, I probably want to buy them something to eat. And as cold as it is, I want to bring them some socks and a blanket. And, I have to meet them where they are. And just to even get in their presence, for them to be able to talk. I'm going to say this, and it's crazy. Take Donald Trump, for instance. Anybody who goes in that man's presence have to almost kiss his butt to be in his presence, or they won't be in his presence any longer. And so that's basically what you have to do to get to the young people. You got to meet them where they are. And then you said it was one more.
Yes. Please go over the way the typical perception of how the infected individual has changed over time from the first cases to present time.
So I can't speak about a long time ago. I do know that a long time ago, meaning like in the 80s, when you were diagnosed, you immediately was able to get on disability because you were sure to die. In fact, in a few months, because the medicine back then was probably as harmful as the disease itself. And it's really not a disease, it's a virus. There is no cure for no virus, and HIV is a virus. And so I can say that now I think people are tolerating a little better, probably because of people such as myself, who, it's easier to look at somebody and say, okay, I can do this, I can be okay. But what I will say, a lot of women that I know that I deal with, they are really struggling bad with their diagnosis because of here. They have socioeconomic issues, they're having financial problems, they got to raise the kids, they got to try to, and you have to have, I had time to mourn my own loss of my identity. The 10 years I was depressed, I still had to go to work because I had kids. I had a daughter in college. I sent my son to Alabama to live with my mom, and then she died 1 year later. Well, I still didn't bring him back. I left him there with my handicapped sister. So the diagnosis today, though, I think helped. When I was diagnosed, I didn't have it. Today, you all have something I didn't have. That was a me. I didn't have a me. I didn't know anybody positive. It took me 10 years before I met somebody that was HIV positive. 10 whole years. And when that girl walked in that room and said she was positive, it was like a light bulb came on for me. So I think today's diagnosis, today's, the information being given to you is a little bit different from years ago, because you were sure to die. Now, I know people that are still alive that had it in the 80s, but they went through a lot to get there, to still be here. Okay.
I think those were all the questions that was in the chat, but of course we want to tell you thank you so much, Kim, for joining us. We have a beautiful certificate for you that, of course, we're going to put it in the mail. We wish we could get it to you in person, but thank you for joining us. Thank you for being honest, for being transparent, and we hope you stay on for a little bit and hang out with us a little bit more.
I will. I'm going to mute my call, though. I know my granddaughter walking in the door. I'm going to mute my call because I know they might be talking, but I am going to stay on.
There were a few other questions. Can we, maybe send that to you and maybe, have some type of frequently asked,
Sure.
something.
So let me do this. Let me do this. So this is my email address. And then you can send me email, any emails that you have. And it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter how personal it is. I don't have a problem. If I can help, that's what I want to do. So my email address is, by all means, just put in the what is it, subject line, and where, because of y'all this is the fourth one of these today. I won't remember.
Wow.
Now I'll be saying something crazy. Be like, what? Because one of them was like with doctors, and nurse practitioners. So I need to know who I'm talking to. So at least put that in the chat so I'll know. But
all right, we got you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well,
So
good evening.
Okay, you're good.
Good evening, everyone. I am Tanika Gray Valbrun, co-chair for Physical and Mental Health, and I'm honored to be here with you tonight in honor of December 1st, World AIDS Day. And as you have heard, today is a day to unite in the fight to end the HIV epidemic, support people living with HIV, and honor those who have lost their life. I am just here to give a brief purpose. And I must say, Ms. Moon, your story touched me so much, and I'm sure touched so many people on the call. And that really is what our purpose is tonight. Really, it is to hear stories like yours, to educate ourselves, to encourage you, for you to encourage us, for you to be a pillar of strength for everyone that had the opportunity to be on the call tonight. That's why we put this forum together, to honor women like you who so bravely and transparently share their story and really honor their journey. So we are so thankful for you tonight because you didn't have to do it, obviously, and you didn't have to be so transparent. But I hope everyone understands that our purpose is for these types of things to have this type of impact. Even though we are currently managing life amid a global pandemic that has created many challenges for us, we should all still be aware of the global HIV epidemic, and we must be committed to accelerating efforts to educate our community. And like Ms. Moon shared tonight, that education is a part of how we conquer HIV and all that we're dealing with HIV and AIDS. HIV is largely an urban disease, with most cases occurring in metropolitan areas. And the South has the highest number of people living with HIV. Georgia is the #1 state in rates of new infections. And in our own backyard, Metro Atlanta is #3 among metropolitan areas. Metro Atlanta has become an epicenter for new cases. And I think Ms. Moon alluded to this, that it's due to poverty, lack of health insurance, inadequate sex education, and stigma, particularly for young LGBTQ+ people. This is not only a public health issue, but this is our community issue. So on behalf of both of our committees and our co-chairs and our Douglas-Carroll-Paulding alumni chapters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, once again, we thank you, Ms. Moon, and we hope that everyone tonight has understood our purpose here tonight, which is to educate, serve, and heal. Tonight, we light our candles to unite in the fight, to end the HIV epidemic, support people living with HIV, and honor those who have lost their life.
Good evening. I am Stephanie Ware, a member of the International Awareness and Involvement Committee. According to World Health Organization, also known as WHO, HIV/AIDS remains one of the world's most significant public health challenges, specifically in low and middle income countries. As a result of recent advances in access to antiretroviral therapy, known as ART, HIV people now live longer and healthier lives. In addition, it has been confirmed that ART prevents onward transmission of HIV. I light this candle for the 67% of the 38 million people living with HIV that are receiving ART, and as Ms. Moon stated, taking the pill.
Good evening, everyone. I am Gloria Mann, and I am a member of the IAI committee. Additional stats for HIV are approximately 1.2 million people in the United States are living with HIV today. About 14% of them, 1 in 7, don't know it and need testing. HIV continues to have a disproportionate impact on certain populations, mainly racial and ethnic minorities and gay and bisexual men. An estimated 36,400 new HIV infections occurred in the United States in 2018. HIV diagnoses are not evenly distributed across states and regions. The highest rates of diagnosis continue to occur in the South. I light this candle in support of all individuals living with HIV/AIDS.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melanie Kirby, and I'm a co-chair of the Physical and Mental Health Committee. There were approximately 38 million people across the globe with HIV/AIDS in 2019. Of these, 36.2 million were adults and 1.8 million were children. An estimated 1.7 million individuals worldwide acquired HIV in 2019, marking a 23% decline in new HIV infections since 2010, which is awesome news. Approximately 81% of people with HIV globally knew their HIV status in 2019. The remaining 19% still need access to HIV testing services. I light my candle on behalf of those still in need of access to HIV testing.
Good evening, everyone. I am Denisha Allen, and I am also a member of the IAI committee. By June 2020, 26 million people were accessing antiretroviral therapy, marking a 2.4 increase from an estimate of 25.4 million at the end of 2019. By comparison, treatment coverage increased by an estimated 4.8% between January and June of 2019. I light this candle for those living with the virus and seeking treatment.
Good evening. Once again, I am Pia Scott, and I'm the co-chair of the International Awareness and Involvement Committee. 32.7 million people have died from AIDS-related illnesses since the start of the epidemic. I light this candle in remembrance of those people, those individuals that have died from AIDS-related illnesses.
Again, thank you all for joining us. We are so excited you all took the opportunity out to support, to be educated, and to continue the fight to end the epidemic. Before you all log out today, I want to encourage you all to take part in the poll that will be launched immediately. Again, thank you. Have a good night. Let's continue to be resilient and vigilant in this fight against HIV/AIDS. Have a good night.